All right, wonderful. And we're live. Lakesh Bertos.
And Lakesh and Veritas. And welcome everyone to live streaming with Of the Sun, the call for truth. We're excited to be here with you today, and we're going to be talking about energy hygiene. And before we begin, though, Tavares, will you bring us into the call for truth?
Yes, although we're still waiting a couple of people to join in, we see some of you have joined us. And for those who are here, let us call for the truth together. Should we call forth the frequency of truth? Should we call to see the truth in all that we see? Should we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? Should we call to speak the truth? Calling forth the courage to speak the truth. Shall we call forth nothing less than the truth to come forward into our experience? Get spongy and feel that truth come in. And so we are here, and we have a few people who are live with us. So welcome, everyone. For those joining in, we got some live in person. Shout out Diane of the Sun here in the studio in the house. And so, again, for those who are joining us every Thursday, 12 noon, live in full effect. And so I want to share with some of you all some of the announcements. We have a lot of upcoming events, very robust. Much of this you can find on the Of the Sun website. And so this upcoming Sunday, especially for those who are local, we have our Sun Dome Energy Work and Wellness Day. And this is always a free public event where we're doing a variety of meditations. Those meditations are led by Diane. It's usually something like Divine Feminine. We might get some Divine Feminine, Divine Masculine next time. But a variety of different mindfulness workshop, frequency-based workshops. Sometimes I do breath work, or we do something along the lines of energy hygiene. But ultimately, it gives us an opportunity to connect, to network, to socialize, to be in a vibrational space where we can be of support. Because
What are the hours?
it's from 12 noon to 3 p.m. So every first Sunday. So again, if you are in the Atlanta area, and we have people who watch who are in Atlanta or in proximity, because Atlanta's like everything that's every city is encompassing within an hour. So also, we're continuing with Light Body Movement, and I'd like to give a shout out to the people who joined us for Light Body Movement. It was a very robust class, very robust, very strong start with, again, it's a movement where we are in a practical, tangible way activating these energy centers and moving into a whole state of being where entire light body's activated. But we got to do it in steps. It's not this fast food type of experience. Do you have any thoughts regarding light body?
I want to share that this is a resuscitation of the original blueprint of the human. We are calling back our blueprint of light. And this process, we have been working on it ourselves for some time, and it is our will and desire to share with you what we have learned about light body. And this is something we've made it very comfortable in pricing. We are including in it the monthly healing talk. You are encouraged to meet with us twice a month for about an hour each time. Get your new meditation and work on it. These things work. Persistence really works.
Certainly.
As we all know, you get what you call for.
Certainly.
Call for your light.
Stay in the light body gym. Build that muscle, and we get to see our multidimensional selves. So again, thank you for everyone who showed up, and again, we're continuing this upcoming Sunday on the 4th. So these classes or sessions are held every other week. So it's twice a month, every first and third Sunday of the month. So join us May 4th and 18th from 6 p.m. Gotcha. 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. We'll see you there. So again, we have some other announcements, other cool things that are happening throughout the month. So you have a new class. I have a new class.
Yes.
We both have new classes. Would you speak a little bit about the Power Insignia class?
The Power Insignia class is about the power and the healing depth of crop circles. We have been working with crop circles, which we refer to as insignias, for a very long time. They are part of the experience of working with Mother Nature and what happens in the crops in our world. There is power just as the crops are power. This is really not something that requires a great deal of faith or belief. The, the crops give us power, the crop circles give us power, and they can be utilized for your individual and collective purposes for healing and expansion. So you are encouraged to join the class. It's a 3-day class over the course of 3 weeks, 1 day each day for a week on Tuesdays. And we will be sharing with you more about how they work, how we discovered it, what my experience was with it, and then you will be able to actually activate and work with one of the power insignias to your own greatest benefit.
Well, certainly.
So we invite you to join us.
So we have a podcast coming out soon, within the next day or so, speaking specifically about the power insignias, and took a little test drive on the ancestors insignia. Oof. Almost lifted up. You'll see me like floating, like, oh my gosh. But it's going to be a great class. The insignias have been around for a while, but again, we get to go in depth with working with this type of it's 2D, but it is mathematical ratios, sacred geometry, and we're working with the multidimensional aspect, and it's technology essentially.
It's definitely healing technology that's brought to us through the courtesy of Mother Earth and all of those who work with Mother Earth, all of the mystical, magical, sacreds, and others who bring this clarity and communication to humanity.
Yes. All right, so we got 2 more updates for you all. So I'm hosting a class for DNA activation. And so DNA activation is actually how I came across Lota. I was searching online, who activates DNA? Because I got to get my DNA activated. Got things to do. And she resonated. And it completely changed my experience. And with honor, respect, and gratitude, I've been able to lead the sessions with the assistance of our allies, right? And now we have, the process has evolved essentially, where similar to our other classes, this will not just be a 1 day, 1 time, 1 hour session. It'll be a 3-day class where the DNA is activated, the etheric portions of our DNA is reconnected, so we can gain greater access to our multidimensional selves, the coding and the information from the greater, the matrix, the cosmos. But the idea of replication, and that's the kicker, that's usually where people fall off. Like when you get your strands connected, how do you know you're connected? What does that look like? How do you sustain a multidimensional experience? And that's what we're going to dive into. You have any thoughts on this?
I do. I'd like to share. I agree. This idea of replication is, for most people who do this kind of work, don't give the explanation that allows you to be successful.
Yeah.
But I also want to share that we are 2-strand beings, and we all know that we're supposed to have 12 strands. Each strand represents our ability for bandwidth, like a radio dial, to connect with the levels of the divine, the levels of the multidimensional universe. So we, at 2 strands, can speak to everyone else who's got 2 strands. Once we get 12, we can speak to others.
Yeah, those are the radio stations are open.
So that's why DNA is important, is that this is it is our original blueprint. It has been silenced and stolen from us, but we can call it back, and you can get connected, learn how to replicate it, and then your bandwidth increases. So however much communication and experience you're having, it can be more.
Well, certainly. So again, these things are on the website. You can check them out. And then there's one last class. And this is also the focus of today's topic, which is energy hygiene. So we have an energy hygiene one-on-one class. This one is taught with myself as well. And it is to help usher in a practical lifestyle of energy hygiene so you can sustain your elevation. Because, you know, sometimes we raise up and then we drop down, or like literally slide into the old patterns. But with the practices from Of the Sun, we are assisting you with curating a day-to-day practice where it's not just reserved to the mornings or even at night, something that you use regularly, because life is lifing. You know, it's important. I find that it's important that we don't leave the meditation in the mornings. We have to carry it with us And I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself because that's our topic today. But these classes are all kicking off the week after next. The So Laota's class, the Power Insignias class, will be on the 13th, 20th, and 27th. So this is consecutive Tuesdays, back to back. The DNA activation class is on the 14th, 21st, and 28th. These are consecutive Wednesdays. And Energy Hygiene 101 is on the 15th, 22nd, and 29th. Pretty robust. That's consecutive Thursdays. So you have any other thoughts on this before we dive into talking about sustaining an energy hygiene lifestyle?
I do have some things to share about it, but I think I'll just keep it short to say, in the same way, think of it as hygiene. In the same way, there are things that we do every 24-hour period. We wash ourselves, we brush our teeth, we brush our hair, we wash our face, we drink water. These are the things that keep us healthy and well. It is the same way with energy hygiene. There are specific things that can be done every 24-hour cycle as a lifetime commitment that will keep whatever is going on that requires you to be clean. It will keep you clean.
That's
So
right.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So I want to share with you all what inspired this. So I've been with Of the Sun for over 13 years, employed for over a decade with the company, and I have seen a lot, with my own experience, and I've seen a lot with clients alike. And this idea of, first off, cleaning and clearing is our modus operandi. That's our focus. That's what we specialize in. Yeah, we psychic, we read the Akasha, and we do this and do that. But our focus is to remove the energetic overlay of interferences that have accumulated from past life, things to this lifetime, things that are intersectional from our ancestry. And so we have an energy clearing protocol where we assist with doing deep advanced soul clearings to remove these deep impressions that are stunting our and stopping us from experiencing our divinity. And I would observe and I would see how the just how important and integral it is for people after they leave from having the service, which they have a miraculous experience, they catapult, they shift, but there has to be something new to sustain that elevation, that new uh, catapulting into that higher frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Which I saw, it's energy hygiene, but people, they don't have the full wherewithal within a 1 hour session. So there needs to be something where we can dive deeper. And this is what inspired it. And Laota's like, yeah, let's do it. And so I got the sign off.
It's not complicated actually. You know, you clean your kitchen is clean. Then you go in and you cook for a week solid and you don't clean the kitchen. And then there's an accumulation of things there that will draw other things in. That's no different than this idea that it is not as if you get one energetic clearing and you're good forever. We live in a world that requires us to clear.
Everything gets dirty.
Just think of it. If you never clean your bathroom, what happens?
Dirty.
If you don't brush your teeth,
dirty. Stinky. There are effects that happen as a byproduct of not sustaining hygiene.
Well, what happens is you attract then to you a variety of things that operate at dirty level.
Yeah, like fleas, ticks, but energetic.
Yes, and it is the ecology. We think of we are good with understanding the ecology of our body, and we're taught from infancy to make sure we clean our ears, to make sure we do all that, but we're not taught to check our energy field. We're not taught to see if there's any interference patterns coming into our experience. Did we walk through something that left a residue on us?
Yeah.
Did we walk through a group of children who were cussing and fighting, and then we walk on the other side and we feel like something's on us because it is. So do we understand that just as we do physical hygiene, it's necessary that we check ourselves and make sure that we're pristine and beautiful and that we are being who we are and not whatever field we walk through or whatever has attached to us.
Yeah, most certainly. I want to share one thought before we well, two things before we cut to a quick little commercial from our sponsor, Luca Gold. Well, one, I want to give an acknowledgement to the people in the chat because this chat's blowing up. What's that? Rise Co, Peace, Essential Tribe, Inlocation Veritas, thank you for the live. Stacy Randall, Inlocation Veritas, sun emoji. Essential Tribe, Light Body Movement is so good. I feel like I'm building a new heart. Thank you of the sun. That's right, because you are. That's right. Rebuilding. You know, we have Lauren Cornell, Inlocation Veritas.
Yay.
Q Maxi. Are these classes only in person? No, you can do this wherever you are in the world. We got clients in the UK and all over. So join in. Essential Tribe, Light Body DNA Insignia is over. Webinar online. Look at that. They're helping out. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Noel, greetings. Prayer hands. Noel, greetings from Austin, Texas. We see you, Noel. Who is this? Devron, you're speaking a language. Ashe, there we go. Ashe, Devlon. And Ease for Aina. Greetings, greetings. So again, shout out to everybody who's joining us in the live. There's a link here in the description for the Energy Hygiene 101 class that's coming up. So if you're interested, you can go ahead and sign up. Also, for anybody who wants to sign up, each class is $100, totaling to $300. But if you buy the class as a whole, you get a $50 discount. So it's only $250. So I wanted to jump back in what you were saying about how we're not really taught this,
right?
You know, and we're taught it from physical, but not necessarily energetic. And we begin the class by acknowledging who and what we are, establishing it. And we're doing it in the most simple ways because there's a lot of systems out there, but really establishing, look, we're physical, we're emotional, mental, and we're spiritual / energetic,
right.
Which the spiritual energetic is the causal factor. That's where everything else is influenced from. And we see the effects. And so we have to move into life with that awareness that, okay, most stuff that I'm seeing happening physically is because of the energetic ticks
Yeah.
or the clogged energetic arteries that I have that needs to be cleaned out. And but at the same time, what we're doing is we're delivering it in such a practical way. And I find that these concepts, they have to be practical, even though they're far out, they're multidimensional, but they're also grounded where we can use these in everyday experiences, whether it's, for example, as you mentioned, when we're moving through an experience where we picked up something, maybe we were in the office, we were at a business meeting and it didn't go right, everyone's arguing and left with a little something, you took it home and you know it. How do you get that off of you? How do you get that off of you before it even happens, actually before you get home, or how do you prevent it from even happening? And this is what energy hygiene does, because it's these little moments that, and this is what I saw in the soul clearing, where it's an accumulation with our souls, where it builds up, where every time we try to pop ourselves into a new frequency bandwidth, the weight of the old just kind of pulls us back.
And then there's the gaslighting, like that's just in your head. That's I can't see anything. It must not be anything.
Well,
but you know, we can't see numbers, but we like them.
For some time, we can see bacteria until we.
So I mean, it's very selective. So the idea is that we exist on many dimensions, many dimensional levels. I encourage you to trust your own experience. If you feel like you felt one way before you walked in the room, you feel another way when you walked out.
Right. Trust your experience. What is your body telling you?
Yeah, don't let someone say, "Oh, it's all in your mind." You know, and gaslight you.
Yeah.
The reality is.
I didn't mean that.
Yeah. Like what I said is not what you understood, but I did say it so I could get this effect. But I don't want to own up to it. So don't be gaslighted. Just know that if you are not feeling pristine, you probably are not.
That's real.
You know, and if you do the practices, if you feel better, continue to do them. And if you don't. It's not complicated. You know, if you're feeling happy and joyful, that's the way to be. If you're feeling less than that, then work towards feeling the way you would like to feel, and be around those who support that experience. It's not complicated, but we're in a complicated world where people like, well, I said there's something in the closet and they told me it was my imagination.
We have come too far for people to be dismissive at this point in the game. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Let us cut to commercial really quick. This is a 50-second commercial. This is from our sponsor, Aluka Gold over in Dubai. Alex, honor, respect, and gratitude. He's a client of ours, long-term client. And anyone who looks to invest in gold, he's your guy. So stand by.
If you're a conscious investor looking to make a difference, you need to hear about Aluka Gold. Because doing good and doing well isn't just a dream, it's our promise. Let's face it, everyone wants their money to work harder. But what if your gold investment could do double duty? Aluka Gold is more than just precious metal. We're committed to ethical sourcing and total transparency so you know exactly where your gold comes from, and who it helps. Every ounce you invest helps support real miners and their communities with humanitarian projects and fair wages. That's not just good business, it's good for the world. You get solid, physical gold, plus the pride of knowing your investment brings hope and opportunity to families who need it most. So why settle for ordinary returns when you can spark extraordinary change? Invest with purpose. Invest with Aluka Gold. Do good, do well, and let your gold investment shine brighter than ever.
We're so happy to have you. We don't consider you a friend, we consider you an ally.
Ooh, yes, correction.
An ally is someone who lines up with what you line up with. We have friends and family. That's one thing. Allies are something else.
Okay. That's right. That's right. All right, so we're back. Oh, by the way, and check out Alex at alukainc.com, and you can find him on Instagram at Aluka Group. And so here we are. We are back with Energy Hygiene, and just want to check out the comments really quick. We got a couple more people who have jumped in. K Rich, Invocation Veritas, Sissy, I think that's Cecilia, Invocation Veritas, Sunny Moji, welcome to the chat. And again, we're talking about energy hygiene.
Yeah.
101. You know, we're laying down the foundation, just the basics, nothing too advanced, but enough to sustain your elevation. So I want to pivot a little bit on some of the other things that we speak about in the class, and we talk a lot about universal laws and principles, because what we're looking to do within the class is where we can experience our multidimensional self, where when you do these practices, for example, many of you who follow us are familiar with calling for the highest possible vibration, a staple practice. And with that, the language is, shall we call for the highest possible vibration? Repeating that 3 times. And as you say it, literally your field raises up, and it's curated as shall we, because you are the we, you're the field. And as you raise up, everything else raises up. But what I find that is required for people to really anchor into it is understanding the laws and the principles and the mechanics, where it's not personal, it's universal. You know, it's always going to be there, whether you adhere to it or not. And one of them is, it's very cliche, but it's the truth. Oneness. You got to be able to see yourself in everything. If you don't see that the problem that you have with another person is really the problem you have with yourself, you're going to forever be a victim and not realize that if I correct me, I can correct my other me, my other self. Would you mind speaking on this a little bit?
Well, what comes to mind then is a biblical phrase, you know, cleanliness is next to godliness.
Most certainly.
And it is true that for us to operate in the divinity of which we are created, we cannot do that unless we are pristine. We cannot have a debaucherous lifestyle, get drunk every night, get high every day, cuss people out, and think that, oh, I'm able to fly with the angels.
No, there's prerequisites. There's prerequisites.
So when a person chooses energy hygiene, there should be this understanding that what they in their own mind knows, not our judgment, what they in their own mind knows is not in support of their life, not somebody else's. What doesn't support the glory that they are cannot be supported in the environment of energy hygiene, because it requires cleanliness of thought and deed. And once you do that, then the cleanliness will support you and protect you. In the same way that if you wash, you're protected from germs. It's the same idea.
Simple arithmetic. It's almost like, what else do you say?
No, it's not. This is not some. It is spiritual, but everything is spiritual and everything is literal. So it is spiritual and it is literal, but it is something you already understand.
So I'd like to elaborate a little on that, because when we're talking about the laws, we mentioned the law of correspondence, how
Yes.
what happens down here happens on every level,
Right.
right? And so if we can see the laws at play, we'll have a greater capacity to be able to not only utilize this, but to uh, use them at their optimal, where we can really see change, not only inside, but the outside as a byproduct of changing the inside.
In the law of the reciprocal, that what you give out, you get back. What goes out in the wave comes back onto the shore.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing, saying, behaving like, comes back and attaches to you. So that could be good.
Yeah, or it could be not so good. Not something desirable.
So the laws and principles of the universe back up all things without the sun. Everything is backed up. And if you wonder, well, where did you get those laws? We can see in nature what the law is. We can see, if we pay attention to animals and plants, what the laws are, that if something becomes contaminated, if something becomes rotten, what happens?
It takes care of it.
So the thing I'd like to mention is that we sell a very special sacred wood called oud. And the way that the wood gets to be sacred and magical is that in the jungles of the Far East and
Southeast Asia, Laos,
and
Singapore.
Vietnam and places like that, in that environment of the jungles, often the trees become diseased. However, when the tree is able to heal itself and become healthy again, it is considered oud. And it is considered magical, and the people in those areas want their coffins to be made of it. They carve artwork from it. They want that magical wood to be in their house. We have the opportunity to gain our magical ability from wherever we are in our development, whatever level of disease and sickness and behavior we are at. When we heal, we become the resonating frequency of, I was that, but now I am the light.
Yeah.
This is what you're teaching. You're teaching that it doesn't matter where you are and what you're doing. What matters is that you want to be doing something else. You want to be at a higher experience. You want to represent whatever your thoughts are concerning the aspect of creation that you are. So you are encouraged to take the energy hygiene class so that it can give you the possibility of healing, and then you can become the magical oud, so to say, the wounded healer.
Well, when you were speaking, I'm thinking to myself, well, that is my cousin. The trees are our cousins, right? You know, and I mean, in every way, you know, we can see the holographic template. And again, you were speaking about how we can see the laws of nature and how everything is everything, and we contain that same capacity. But it does require us. We were talking earlier in our previous podcast about deciding. As a matter of fact, it's a reoccurring theme. Probably almost every time we have a talk, decision, or the power of decision comes up. So deciding that you want to be clean, deciding that when something perceived as negative happens, that I'm going to do something about this. I'm not going to carry this through my day, because stuff happens. Life happens, right? Life be life, and you might get a chip, you might drop, but deciding, okay, I'm going to bring myself up. I know what happened. And so would you speak a little bit about the power of decision as it relates to energy hygiene?
It is the first step. We first have to assess and recognize, where are we? Most people are walking around in varying levels of suffering because our world is so full of suffering. We get on the highway, we sit in traffic in 6 lanes on one side and 6 lanes on the other, and it moves very slow. That's a level of suffering. It doesn't have to be that way. Everyone has decided to be on the highway at the same time because it was designed that way for us to suffer. You go to the airline and you go to TSA, and last time I was there, a woman fainted next to me. So all of this is suffering, but because it's our normal, do we know we're suffering? So if we don't know we're suffering, we may not decide not to suffer. So once you recognize my life does not have to be this way. I don't have to, everything does not have to be a waiting. And I know right before Christmas, I could pitch a tent and stay outside in the cold to go into a store to buy something that was open already. The store is already open with the merchandise in there, but it's Black Friday, so I'm going to spend a pitch a tent, sleep outside in the cold, so I can get that $200 off that big screen. That's by design. That's suffering.
You know, I had this thought. I was saying to myself, I'm going to speak it out loud. I hope none of our viewers are suffering through Black Friday. I hope that is my desire that those who are tuned in have grown beyond that. But it is a reality.
Well, and it's really this idea of recognition. If you've been brought up, we've all been brought up this way.
Yeah, it's normalized, as you say.
It is normalized. We don't know we're suffering because we haven't had the contrast of joy.
You know, I'm also thinking about even just the general experience of being in a grocery store. The cashier suffering. I was just telling you about this in our team the other day, or this morning actually, time, and how it requires a willing yourself to stay above these fields because it's suffering everywhere. I go to the register and I say to the woman with my high vibrational self, "How you doing today?" She's like, "It could be better." I was like, "Well, you still got hours left in the day," so she's like, "Yeah, it's gonna get better." I was like, "That's what I'm talking about." But I could see the weight, you know. And then you got the people who are in their line and like, you know, impatient, and all of that is in the air. And again, if we don't have any way to bring ourselves above it or even decide to do it, we will succumb.
Well, and not only that, when do we decide to not do things that way? When do we decide that we won't go to the grocery store at 5 p.m. when everybody gets off work, where there's no parking spaces? That when we walk into the store, when we touch the buggy, we're touching all of the sadness, depression, and abuse of all the people who have touched the buggy before.
All right, so you're getting into deeper property clearing, like
so I mean,
negative impressions on the.
Well, that is what we do,
Yeah.
and so that is how I think. So all of that, you have just walked into that field. If you have energy hygiene, that means you're cognizant of it, so you can choose a different outcome. If you're not cognizant of it, you could be in the grocery store quite annoyed, and then you could contaminate the food that you're buying.
Contaminate your vehicle.
And then you contaminate the vehicle. Then you bring the food home to your children. And there's so many implications when we have not examined our reality.
But you saying this, I can see how the everyday person who's not astute and aware about the transference of energy and how easy it happens, how regularly it happens, it just escapes us.
It does.
It's out of sight, out of mind.
So it's not so much that there's anything wrong with anyone. It's that as we become, whoever's listening, whoever hears this in the future, if you become aware, great. Now you're more aware. Now you can decide. It is the decision that changes everything. But the awareness of what your circumstance is, if you've never been talked to with respect, you might not recognize that you're not talked to with respect until you see someone else who's talked to kindly. Be like, oh, look at how that person talked to them. Like I have heard you say, you know, so-and-so didn't talk to me the way you talked to me. So it's like once you have that contrast.
Oh, yeah. Continue, please.
Once you have the contrast, then you can make a decision, then your life can change, and then you can move from that. Is in the unseen, in the unacknowledged, in the inability to see what's going on in your life, you're already in agreement and you're part of the problem.
It's that lack of awareness.
This lack of awareness is guiding you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I want to go to the grocery store. It's 5:30. Oh yeah, I'll go.
So when you were speaking,
Yeah.
one of the things that came to mind was how energy hygiene assists us with being open and receptive to our guidance.
Yes.
It's hard to hear the voice of our guidance when we're clogged up, dammed up with the debris of yesterlife. So would you speak a little bit more about the guidance? Because even though this is not directly the thing that we're doing, but it's there. We're in the pocket with it.
You know, there's the difference between a whisper and a clear understanding. Not everyone hears. I'm a person who knows things instead of hears things. I just have a body of experience in my head. So not everyone actually hears a voice or
Yeah.
things like that. So whatever way in which people get their information, when you're encumbered and unaware, if you don't know you can get information, that may limit your ability to get information.
Well, true. Well, so I guess we got to start because some people are like, I can't hear my guidance. I don't know.
Yeah.
Help.
And we all have guidance. We all have ancestors. We all have a lot of support around us. Nature spirits have a lot of support around us, but the interference patterns in our life don't allow it. If we are in accord with the person who talks wrong to us, or being in a house where people don't think right about us, that energy pattern interferes with someone saying, I have always loved and cherished you. You are my ancestor. You know, you are the prodigy that I have been watching since you were born. That you can't hear that. You can't.
It's like, oh man, so much waiting on the other end of being clean and clear.
Yes, it's like the things that even in nature, the trees and the animals are waiting for us to acknowledge them so that they can also be acknowledged by us. They already are in contract with us. The trees in your backyard were arranged before you were born. The flowers that are in your backyard were already have a relationship with you. When you know and are unencumbered with depression and sadness and interference patterns, you can then hear what they have to say. Sometimes a butterfly will come and just have an experience. You know, sometimes a bee will come and give me the frequencies. You know, it might stay 3 or 4 minutes near my ear on purpose so that I can get the frequency. Sometimes, you know, a wasp will hover around me and look at me until I look at it, and then we smile at each other, and then it's good.
Yeah, I was just coming through to say hi.
Yeah, and that is an acknowledgement that you are part of creation as it is part of creation, and that alone is enough to bring you into a different space where when you see another human, you can see them through the eyes of the divinity that you share.
Certainly.
You know, it's a real thing, but you can't get there in irritation. You can't get there in traffic. You don't have these experiences in rush hour traffic because the morphic field of what's going on in traffic is not there to support it.
Well, I will say this though, one can pop themselves above it.
That's true, and you have done that.
Yes, just letting y'all know.
But that's
we don't have to
after you
suffer.
take the energy hygiene and practice and become adept at it.
Yeah, it's because it's not a microwave thing. It's I think all things are like building the muscle, the conditioning. As you mentioned, just the awareness that we can raise above it. We don't have to suffer.
Yeah.
We can be in traffic and la da 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 da. You know, sometimes we tell people to do Ho'oponopono in the traffic. You know, take whole responsibility, sing a song.
Sometimes the choices people make, they take a stand that only allows suffering.
Yeah.
They decide, I'm not going to do that thing that would help me. I'm not going to go that place where I could get what I need. I'm not going to let that person assist me, so they get to have that experience. And that's okay. It's a learning process. But sometimes if they could just see the right in whatever was being offered, then they would have a different experience.
This is one of the practices that we have, calling for right thinking. We were talking about this in the last podcast about how anyone can see the wrong. And you used to say, and you still do, everyone can see the fly in the milk. It doesn't require a scientist or whoever, someone who's enlightened, but it does require someone who is of a higher vibratory field to, oh, I see how that fly got in the milk.
Yeah.
I see how this is correct. You know, and so again, this is a practice that can allow us to shift our consciousness to see like, where's the golden nugget within this? Where's the opportunity for growth instead of, again, suffering?
Yes, because ultimately it is you who make you suffer. It is you, every choice you make in every moment in your experience that leads to more suffering.
Message. Just for the people who are adhering to universal law, because there's some people who, you know, they don't adhere.
But and the reality is, it's okay. You are eternal.
Yeah.
You can do this over and over and over again.
Well, over the years, she would say to people, "Do you want to come back on the short bus? You want to come back on the short bus? You're gonna come back in and have to do it all over again."
It's all right though. The idea is the universe is beneficent, and that the opportunity will continue to present itself, and you can resist or you can move into your glory.
Yeah, I want to chime in on some of these comments. We have a couple more things flowing through. Aina, Ease for Aina. May's class, it will be at 6 p.m. Eastern to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So again, join us. We'll make that correction on the typo. We have Deveron says it's called a missionary lifestyle. Yeshua way. It's that Christ being. Also says that's why you keep your heart pure and body clean with water. You are water.
Yeah, the water beings living on a water planet.
Yes,
the water world.
Stacy Randall says the contrast is so needed. I hear that. Essential Tribe, if you are in proximity through space, thought, or frequency, you are exchanging energy. True that. Madame Mystique Noir, Ho'oponopono has been life-changing for me. And also says, "Lo, not the short bus." Yes, the short bus. You come back. You come back. It's like that. Get it right. Get it right. So we actually went longer than we intended, but there's been, again, a lot of traffic, and this was very robust. And again, I want to affirm for the people who has interest in taking the energy hygiene class. It's coming up soon. Let me make sure I bring my calendar back up so I can share the date. But we have the link in the description for the class. It's held on Thursdays. It's 3 days. It's on the 15th, 22nd, and 29th. And the class is taught with myself. And again, you can catch Laota with her Power Insignia class on the 13th, 20th, and 27th. And the DNA activation class on the 14th, 21st, and 28th. These are all on the Avison website. And you can also contact us if you want to work with us, like whether it's you want more information. There's a link on the home page for an free introductory consult where you can speak with our introductory consultant to inform you of all that Avison has to offer based on the uniqueness of your path and your growth and evolutionary process. So again, I want to thank everyone for joining. You have any other thoughts? I would be happy to do so.
So we're going to pull a card to speak about what we've talked about today. And we've got the call for the truth cards. As soon as Tavares can get into the bag.
Yeah, I keep checking the views and the comments. Again, pleased that everyone made it today. And
do you know what your question will be?
No, not quite yet. I'm like, probably to see the truth as it relates to incorporating energy hygiene into our experience.
All right. And we'll see what the card reads. The cards are wonderful because you don't have to guess. They will tell you.
Okay. The theme is love, heart chakra. The maxim reads, love should look and feel like love. Control doesn't feel like love. Appeasement doesn't feel like love. Yelling doesn't feel like love. Manipulation doesn't feel like love. I want to speak just briefly on this, is that almost all of these are negative motivators that are cleared in the event soul clearing process. And again, using the tools, we can help offset these things. That way, again, we can operate from here. Someone said, again, working with the light body, operating in the heart space, I feel like my heart's open. I can love. Yeah, we got that hammer and chiseled away that cement casing around the heart space. But again, that's what it looks like when we have that distortion.
We just have to make sure that instead of raising our voice, we raise our frequency.
Ooh, that's a quote right there. Somebody write that down.
We thank you for joining us. We hope that we'll see you again next week in Lakesh and Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude. Thank you.